Hello, I'm Dr. R.P. Narmada, Associate Professor of AI&DS Department of Kalangnar Karnanidhi Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. In this video, let us look into maps in data visualization. Already, the previous video, we look into the various visual models like charts, graphs, plots. So now let us look into what are maps. Maps are powerful tools to represent geographical spatial data. They help us understand where something happens alongside what happens. So, it is a very good visual model to go through in data visualization. For example, when the maps are represented in the weather forecasting, so it is very easy to understand for layman where the in looking into the map where the region is forecasting the rain and where the rain is higher or lower. So, in this way, maps are very helpful and very easy to understand. Now, let us look into the types of map in data visualization. So, different types of maps are suited for different kinds of spatial data and analytical questions. So the first type is Cropleth maps. Cropleth map is a type of thematic map in which areas are shaded or colored in proportion to the statistical variable being displayed. For example, such as countries, states, or districts. So the variable might represent a population density, literacy rate, rainfall, election results, etc. A darker or a more intention shades typically indicate higher value or lighter shades shows the lower values. So, for example, the regions which are shaded on a color based on a data variable like you can go for the average income, the voting patterns, or the population density can be made in this distinct of the map. Here, in this example, it is based on the US maps, which is shaded in the darker blue and which is having a higher population density. You can look it into the population density, which is showing a higher color, which is having a dense more, where those particular states are higher in population and which are lighter is lesser in population density. So, Croplet maps are such maps where you can go a thematic map in which the areas are shaded or colored. So next type of map is proportional symbol maps. These maps are nothing but the symbols that are placed at a specific locations and their size is proportional to the value of a variable at a location. For example, it can be represented in circles or squares. So, for example, like displaying the exact location with a varying magnitude and its administrative boundaries can be represented in circles. For example, a map of cities with circles scaled by their population or a number of sales in that particular city. So you can look into this proportional symbol map where it is represented in different types of circles. This map displays the major world cities with circles over each city which is proportional to the city's population. So it indicates and it is labeled by the indication of the population. The next an important type of map is heat maps, which is very important map, which is exactly for showing the spatial density, which is using a color gradient to represent the density or intensity of the points within a geographical area. Areas with higher density are typically shown with warmer or more intense colors. For example, the Wi-Fi signals strength, analyzing the Wi-Fi signal strength using a modifier usage could be the hotspots or the clusters in this heat maps. So looking into this example, the spatial density could be easily identified where the Wi-Fi signals are higher, that is heated or cooler. This map strengthens with the building. Warmer colors are indicating the red and orange, whereas the cooler colors like blue and green indicates that is a weaker signal. So it is very easy to identify where the signals inside a building gives a higher strength and a weaker strength of the signal that is into this particular map model. Next type of map is your dot distribution map. This map is nothing but it is represented through individual dots and it is placed on the map with each dot representing a single unit or a fixed number of unit of a variable being mapped. For example, a distribution of phenomenon in a way the population density is spread across. A map where each dot represents 1,000 people of certain demographic. A particular unity of community can be represented through this dot distribution maps. For example, here, this map of city shows a distribution of specific demographic group where each dot represents 100 individuals of that particular group. So the number could be defined, user defined, and the dot represents the specific distribution in that particular map where or a region it is represented in. This is an example of a dot distribution map. Next type of map is flow maps. Use of lines or arrows to show the movement or connections between the geographical locations is the flow maps. The thickness or the colors of lines can represent the volume or a type of a flow. So, like based on the flow, you can identify the arrows with the arrows, the movement and the connection between the area. Like, for example, the migrations and the trade route and the transportation networks or an internet traffic, all this would be the use cases in this type of a flow map. So here a map showing the number of international flights between the major airports. So you can see here the flow map between the international airports crossing the major flights between these countries. This map visualizes the major global trade routes and also the continents and the countries with the thickness of lines representing the volume of trade that is across. And the next type of map is isoline or a counter map. This is nothing but it connects the points of equal value with lines common for continuous surfaces, like for example, temperature, atmospheric pressure, or a pollution levels can be used using your counter maps. A tomographic map showing the elevation counter is an example of a isoline map. This map represents the shape of a lighting surface. It displays the area with the same temperature or an equal atmospheric pressure and same amount of rainfall received and the areas which equal concentration of population or a chemical or a population density. So this isoline map is especially points of equal value where equal distribution of a mountain or a valley or a plain is connected with same temperature or a atmospheric pressure or a rainfall. So in that way, these maps are helpful in the visual model. So the various types of maps we have shown to are let let us make a quick recap. So first one was a croplet map. So it is a map which is based on a like a on a data variable like it is mainly with a thematic map with the shaded of colors or a proportion to a statical variable, this map can be represented. And the next type was your proportional symbol maps based on a specific locations and the size is proportional to the value. And next one was your heat maps based on a color gradients to represent the density. It is a spatial density map. So like it is using a color gradient to represent the density. Then your dot distribution map, a map which is using dots to represent a specific uh, a single unit to distribute the same or a specific demographic group. Flow maps are nothing but the lines of arrows show the movement or the connection between their geographic locations. And the isolate maps are nothing but connect points of equal values with lines common for continuous surfaces. So these are the different types of maps in data visualization. Each one has its own advantages when it is represented in the visual model. Let us look into the few advantages of map visualization. Institute for spatial data. As we all know very well, it is highly useful in the spatial data. Humans are naturally good at interpreting geographical information, and it reveals spatial patterns, easily highlights the geographical clusters, disparities, and relationships, and it is used for contextual understanding. It places a data with a familiar real world context, and it is essential for planning, logistics, public health, and environmental studies. So, that is what is about the major advantages of your maps. Let us quickly know about the difference between the maps, charts, and plots. So, in terms of definition, we all know maps are nothing but the like data linked to a geographical area or a spatial points. When the charts are nothing but the a quantitative or a categorical data, it is used to represent the quantitative or a categorical data. And plots are nothing but it is being used to represent the relationship or distribution between the variables, between the x and y axis. So it is mainly focusing on where something happens. Your maps describes where something happens. It is mainly based on location, and your charts what happens in terms of values. So it is based on categories or proportions, and plots especially used in how two or more variables are related or distributed. So where something happens, what happens, and how two or more variables are related. So here you have different types of map like prolo, pleth, heat map, flow map, isolate, all that. And here you have a bar chart, pie chart, line charts, food chart, thing. And here you have a scatter plot, box plot, histograms, etc. So types of data that can be used in maps could be a spatial or a geographical data. Here aggregated numerical or a categorical data. Here a raw or a statistical data can be used, and it is best for a spatial patterns or variations. Here it is used for a categories or a time trends like that. And here it is mainly used for exploring the distributions. So visual medium could be a map of world or a country can be used for a geographical based. Here axis, bars, lines, segments can be taken as a visual medium. And here X and Y grid can be a coordinate system. So this is a major difference between your maps, charts, and plots in your data visualization. Thank you. Thank you for your listening.